All right, welcome back, you beautiful people. Whether you're tuning in from the drab, boring, ordinary Earth, the majestic flat Earth, or even the mysterious hollow Earth, you found your way to my new podcast. Can you believe it? This is already episode 6. Who knew we'd last this long, huh? For those of you just joining us, welcome. Whether you're a flat Earth enthusiast or just stumbled upon us in the depths of the hollow Earth, you're in for a wild ride with Ben Maller. By day I sleep mostly, but by night I'm a legendary sports talk show host on Fox Sports Radio. My dulcet tones reach over 200 countries and 2,000 radio stations. No matter where you are, you can always catch my voice. Now I know what some of you normal Earth folks are thinking. Ben, there are only 195 countries in the world. And to that I say, open your mind, my friend. We proudly include the independent nations of Texas, California, and Antarctica in our broadcast reach. And of course, for our loyal listeners residing in the hollow Earth, we also count the glorious countries of Mallerland and Garcia-istan. We're global. And speaking of global, I've got my main man back in the studio with me today, the one and only Edmond Dallas Steamboat Willie Garcia. Eddie, my friend, how are you doing today? And how's the home front? How's your transgender wife, Kenneth, otherwise known as Karen? Is she still Karening? And on a related note, any new updates on the mother-in-law and sister-in-law? Are they, shall we say, a day closer to their inevitable croaking? Give us the full report, Eddie.
Oh, I'm doing absolutely fabulous, Ben. Absolutely fabulous. Thanks for asking. It's always a pleasure to be here, especially when I've got so much excitement happening at home. The fully transgender wife, Kenneth, bless her heart, or Karen as I often call him, her, well, she had a massive breakdown, a truly monumental one. So, I'm thinking about committing her to an insane asylum. Do they still call them that? Or is it a mental institution now? Whatever it is, I'm seriously looking into it. Thank God, right? Means I probably won't have to go through the messy business of a divorce. After all, silver lining, Ben, silver lining. And speaking of silver linings, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, they're only a couple more days away from croaking, I'm telling you. It's truly a blessing. Makes me wonder why we don't have assisted dying laws here in the U.S. when England just passed theirs. They're ahead of the curve on some things, Now for the update on Blind Scott, aka Sabrina. Yeah, that whole pursuit, over, done, finished. I took a good long look at him and you know what? He turned me back straight. I guess he must be that ugly of a woman and his voice is still as annoying as ever. Besides, he's still a racist, so there's that. So nope, not pursuing him, her anymore. I'm back on the hunt for another fully transgender woman, just like my wife. Something familiar.
Oh, thank the Jewish God Elohim. Hallelujah! Eddie, you magnificent bastard. I knew it. I knew you'd come to your senses. Thank God you ain't a full-blown homo anymore. This is a day for celebration, folks. I had a feeling that Blind Scott experience would either push you completely over the edge or snap you back into reality. Glad to hear it was the latter. And Eddie, you bring up a good point about assisted dying. It's truly baffling why we don't have something like that here in the U.S. Other countries have dying booths, even pods, for crying out loud. Why should anyone have to suffer for that long, especially when they're clearly on their way out? It's inhumane, I tell you. Something to ponder for another time, perhaps. But, hey, thanks for the update, Eddie. And if you're really looking for another fully transgender woman, I might actually know someone. She's got quite a story, and I'm going to tell it a little later in the show, so stick around for that. Speaking of telling stories, that's exactly what we're doing on today's podcast. We are diving headfirst back into the wonderful, eerie, and utterly mind-bending world of paranormal, aliens, and conspiracy theories. That's right, folks, we're going deep today. I've got 3 incredible stories lined up for you, sent in by our listeners, that are going to make you question everything you thought you knew. And Eddie, since you're here, do you have any personal paranormal tales or conspiracy theories you've been sitting on that you want to share with the audience today? Don't hold back, my friend. After we get through those, I'm going to share a chilling encounter of my own, my experience with the Negro-eyed kids. Trust me, you won't want to miss that. So buckle up, grab your tinfoil hats, and let's get weird.
Yeah, Ben, you know what? I actually do have one for the listeners, and it just happened recently too, like really recently. I don't want to spoil it though. You'll just have to wait. It's a good one.
All right, let's dive right into our first story, folks. This one comes to us from none other than Fat Flabby Justin in Cincinnati. Now, Justin used to have a rather unique line of work. He was a body removal attendant. That's right, his job involved picking up the deceased from homes or hospitals and transporting them to the morgue. As you can imagine, that kind of work comes with its own set of eerie tales, but this one takes the cake. Here's Justin's story in his own words. So, there I was, late night routine call, or so I thought. I got the address, the paperwork, everything seemed normal. My job was to pick up the deceased and get him to the morgue. Simple enough, usually. But this night, man, this night was different. I pulled up to this hospital and immediately something felt off. The air was heavy, like static electricity before a storm, but way darker. I went inside, found the body where it was supposed to be. Standard procedure. I started prepping to move him and checked the tag on his toe. The sole of the foot was white and dirty. The name tag had John Doe. Paperwork said John Doe, obese white male in his 70s. What I picked up was a totally different body. The skin color wasn't even close when not looking solely at the sole. How could I have missed this? It turns out this Negro was a Haitian voodoo priest who had died from a Negro-on-Negro voodoo gone wrong. Yeah, you heard that right. A Haitian voodoo priest who died from a voodoo curse. I didn't know it until I reached the morgue. The mortician assistant pulled the cover off and said that this wasn't their guy. I had picked up the wrong body, and nobody in the area should work with Haitian voodoo priest unless they themselves get a blessing or protection from a living voodoo priest. The mortician assistant left the room quickly as if he knew what was about to happen. I called my dispatcher, explained the mix-up, and they told me to wait for further instructions. While I was waiting, I swear to God, the temperature in the room plummeted. I could feel this intense, malevolent presence. It felt like I was being watched, judged, hated even. The air was practically vibrating with anger. Then the lights flickered. The room went dark for a second, then came back on. When they did, the priest's eyes were open. Not just open, but staring right at me. Lifeless yet burning with something ancient and furious. A low growl like a guttural hum filled the room. It wasn't coming from him, but it felt like it was around him, from him. I dashed out of there as fast as I could. I left the body, the gurney, everything. I called my bosses from the hearse, shaking like a leaf. They were furious, of course. Said I abandoned my duties. But I swear, his vengeful spirit was hanging around, and it was definitely taking vengeance on me that night for even being in the same room. Long story short, I got fired. Yeah. Fired for running from a pissed-off voodoo priest ghost. My bosses didn't believe a word of it, but I know what I saw, and I felt it. And ever since that night, I've had the worst luck imaginable. It's like something's been clinging to me, an echo of that curse. I'm telling you, that priest spirit followed me home. Man, what a story from Justin. A voodoo priest, a vengeful spirit, and getting fired for it all. That's a triple threat of bad luck. Eddie, what do you make of that? You think a spirit could really cling to someone like that and affect their life? Sounds crazy, but I've heard stranger things. There's always the possibility, you never know.
Ben, honestly, I think fatty flabby Justin Vance in Cincinnati, just a dumbass. That's what I think. Picking up the wrong body and then blaming a vengeful voodoo priest spirit for getting fired and his strings of bad luck? Nah, man. He just messed up. The only thing that dude is good at is listening to FSR 24/7 and memorizing sports trivia. Next.
All right, Eddie, ease up on Fatty Flabby Justin. The dude's got a story, and that's what we're here for. Speaking of stories, our next one comes from Blind Emmitt in Washington. And Emmitt's going to tell us a truly chilling tale about the reason he believes he went blind. This one's a doozy, so listen up. Here's Emmitt's story in his own words. I grew up living with my family right across the street from a cemetery. Now, I don't know if it was Hmong, Laotian, Vietnamese, or Chinese, maybe even a combination of all of them, but it was definitely an ethnic cemetery. And strange things happened there. At night especially, fogs would develop rising up from the ground. And I swear I'd see shapes in those fogs like people. Maybe it was just pareidolia, seeing faces in things, but it always felt like more. And it wasn't just visual. I'd also hear whispers and chattering like a whole party was going on right there in the graveyard. It was unsettling, but also incredibly intriguing. Well, one evening, as the fog was really starting to thicken and those shapes were forming, I finally summoned the courage to go out and walk across the street to look. I had to see what was really happening. As I got closer, pushing through the thick mist, I saw a person. It was a woman dressed in what looked like shamanic ritual clothing. She was standing there, almost conducting the fog, the sounds. She looked directly at me, and she held her finger to her lips, as if telling me to keep quiet and not tell anyone. But the strangest part was, I didn't just see her gesture. I swear I heard her thoughts like she was communicating with me telepathically. The voice in my head, clear as day, said, "Never speak of this." It was chilling. It was like she was summoning them to come eat what she brought. Whatever them was, and whatever it was she was feeding them. That's when I got truly scared. I turned and ran home as fast as my legs could carry me. I was terrified, but I also felt like I had to tell someone. So I told my parents everything. My parents naturally were alarmed. They told the authorities, and the shaman woman was arrested. After that, the cemetery went quiet. There were no more fogs developing at night, no more whispers, no more chattering. Then, not long after her arrest, I started losing my vision. It began slowly, a gradual dimming, but it progressed until I became legally blind. I've come to believe, to my core, that the shaman lady was keeping those spirits happy by feeding them every night. And now that no one is feeding them, they were angry. And they took my vision for seeing them, and for telling on their feast master, they punished me for interfering. Man, that's a heavy story, Emmitt. A direct connection between seeing something you shouldn't have and losing your sight. It makes you wonder what kind of spiritual economy was at play there, and if his interference truly tipped the scales. What do you think, Eddie? Do you buy Emmitt's explanation for his blindness?
You know what, Ben? I do believe Emmitt. And you know why? Because these ethnic groups, aside from the Hispanics, they've got the most vengeful spirits, hands down. They don't play around. Besides, I asked Emmitt once, probably off air, if he was always blind. And he told me he had 20/20 vision for most of his childhood, and then he just got cagey. He wouldn't tell me how he lost his vision. He just clammed up. So this story he's telling now, that's the missing piece. He's probably been afraid to talk about it all these years. Yeah, I'm buying it. Those spirits definitely took his eyes for snitching.
All right, Eddie, and to all the listeners, this next one is special. Our next story comes from Colorado, from our infamous and beloved Lady Caller of the Year nominee. Guess what? She's actually in the studio today and will be telling the story herself. It's Queen Roxanne. Welcome to the studio, Queen Roxanne. Get ready, folks, because this is her story in her own words. Take it away, Queen Roxanne.
Ben and Eddie, thank you for having me. It's really nice to see you both in the flesh. I know this is short notice, but I was in the neighborhood and thought I should tell you my story in person. Eddie, my sincere condolences for your and Karen's loss. Well, let's get to it. I have a secret, and only my closest friend and family know about this. Now I'm gonna share it with all the Mauler militias. I was born Rocky. I'll tell you why I'm known as Queen Roxanne now. Well, I grew up in this tiny town in Colorado, the kind of place where everyone, and I mean everyone, went to the small cathedral church. My parents, bless their traditional hearts, dragged me there every single Sunday, just like every other kid in town. It was just what you did. Then came my early teen years, and my folks, being the surprisingly liberal types they were for that town, gave me the option. Go or don't go. And you know what? I bounced. I was out. Church? Nah, not for me. Fast forward to my early 20s, and I finally busted out of that small town, landed in the big city. Life was good until one day, completely out of the blue, I got hit with testicular cancer. Yeah, you heard that right. And suddenly, all those years of skipping church vanished. I was praying, Ben and Eddie. I was praying to the Christian God, the Jewish God, Islamic terrorist God. My words back then, not now, mind you. Begging. Pleading, please heal my testes, and I swear I'll go back to church. And wouldn't you know it, after treatments I was cured. Fuck cancer, right? I was cancer-free. So true to my word, I started looking for a church in the big city, but man, these places were huge, thousands of people. I just felt like another face in the crowd, a nobody. I didn't want to be lost in the shuffle. I kept searching, and then I stumbled upon this place that had just started up. It was the Satanic Temple. Now, I gotta admit, I was pretty dumb and naive back then. Even though I'd spent most of my childhood in church, I never actually read the Bible, never really paid attention. So, my brain made some connections. I joined the Satanic Temple of Colorado. I actually thought it was super cool to be in a church where the symbol was a goat. And because I was, and still am, a massive Tom Brady fan, and everyone kept calling him the GOAT, greatest of all time, I literally thought, this church must be the greatest of all time of all churches too! Yeah, I told you I was kind of dumb for an early 20-year-old. So, they're doing their ritual, initiating me into the church, and as it's happening, I felt this thing come into my body. And the only thing I could remember from Sunday school, the only thing that made sense at the time, was that it must be the Holy Spirit. As you feel something fill you up and invade each fiber of your very being, it's as if something is taking you, something powerful. But as time went by, it became clear that Holy Spirit was a massive misnomer. I was possessed by a demon. My parents eventually figured it out. When they couldn't find me, couldn't get a hold of me, they came to the city, saw what was happening, and dragged me to an exorcist. They did exorcise the demon. But somehow, hell couldn't keep this thing in. It came right back, attached itself to me again. That's when we heard about the last desperate option. There was this legend of a lonely old maid spirit, someone who had died back in the 1890s. She was said to be a powerful witch, capable of casting anything into or out of anyone. The catch: as the demon left, she might attach herself to me instead. My parents, bless their desperate hearts again, figured an old lady's spirit was better than a demon. So they summoned her, and she did it. She got rid of the demon for good, but now I'm possessed by her. And that's when things really started to change. I started acting and dressing, well, like a drag queen. The Rocky my friends and family once knew is now Queen Roxanne. And yeah, that's where the Queen moniker comes from.
Woof. Eddie and drag queen, that's a lot to unpack, a lot of twists and turns. From church kid to satanic temple, testicular cancer, a demon, and then a witch possessing you, turning you into a drag queen named Queen Roxanne. That's certainly a unique journey, to say the least.
Ben, Roxanne, I think I'm in love. Seriously, Roxanne, do you want to go out for lunch sometime after I commit Karen and 1890s? Huh? Oh man, I am so into old ladies. You're so much older. Yummy.
No, Eddie, I don't like chubby middle-aged guys. Yuck. Besides, us drag queens and transgender LGBTQIA have to stick together. You're treating your fully transgender wife so poorly, I'm afraid you're gonna be like this towards me.
Eddie, keep it in your pants, man. What are you doing? Roxanne is a listener. And I was only kidding with you when I told you I had another transgender listener for you. We can't start going after listeners, man. That's unethical. Seriously, reel it in.
Okay, Ben, listen, I'm not on your famous overnight show anymore, am I? So I'm a free agent now, and a free agent is free to do whatever. But you want me to keep it in my pants? Fine. Just ask your bosses to rehire me, and I'll behave. I'll be the most ethical co-host you've ever had. Just don't let Kenneth know, otherwise she'll go even crazier than she already is. This is a private conversation, right? No offense, drag queen Roxanne. My penis tend to take over sometimes.
None taken, Eddie. I know how it is. I thought Rocky is gone, but sometimes he would take over too. Well, Ben and Eddie, it's been a pleasure. Sorry I can't stay for the rest of the show. I have prostitutes to unalive.
Well, Queen Roxanne, thanks for stopping by and telling the audience and us your story. Unalive one for Eddie and I too. God knows we can't do it.
Bye, drag queen. Hey, Ben, do you think that's the demon? Old witches usually don't unalive prostitutes, do they? And how did she get here so fucking fast? Scary.
I don't know, Eddie. I'm just glad the transgender queen isn't here after that last comment. She could have unalive us both. Okay, new rule, no more special guest appearance in the home studio. I don't mind if they call. We need to go to a live read of our newest sponsor, the Catholic Church. Here is the script that they want us to read verbatim. Welcome to the Catholic Church, 2,000 years of faith, love, and let's just say a lot of history. Whether you're seeking salvation, community, or a front row seat to some of the wildest plot twists in human history, we've got it all.
Founded by Jesus Christ himself, or at least that's what we tell the kids in Sunday school, the Catholic Church has been your one-stop shop for spiritual guidance since 33 AD. From building majestic cathedrals to spreading the good word, we've been saving souls and making headlines for centuries.
Sure, we've had our spicy moments, the Crusades, just a little overzealous missionary work, 9 campaigns, millions dead, but who's counting? And the Inquisition? Think of it as extreme vetting for heretics. A few burnings at the stake, some light torture. Hey, it was the Middle Ages, everyone was doing it.
From silencing scientists to excommunicating kings, we've always kept things lively. And don't worry about those pesky witch hunts, hundreds of thousands executed, but we're pretty sure most of them were guilty. Probably.
Okay, the 20th century got a little messy. Those residential schools for indigenous kids, we thought we were helping. Sure, thousands died and there was some cultural erasure, but our hearts were in the right place. And the scandals? Look, we've got a few bad apples, decades of cover-ups, thousands of victims across the globe, billions paid in settlements, but we're working on it, promise.
With over 1 billion followers, a real estate portfolio to die for, and a direct line to the Almighty, the Catholic Church is the ultimate eternal brand. We've survived schisms, wars, and even Twitter, so you know we're built to last. Join us for Mass, confession, or just to marvel at our fabulous art collection.
Sign up today. No questions asked unless you're a Protestant. Bring your kids, your wallet, and your unwavering faith. The Catholic Church, where forgiveness is free, but the indulgences, well, those might cost you. Terms and conditions apply. Salvation not guaranteed. Please don't Google Borgia popes. Big thank you to the Catholic Church. Now, Eddie, your turn.
All right, Ben, you ready for this? This just happened recently, and, well, it's a doozy. So you remember that time I was donating sperm near Skid Row? Yeah, that. Well, one of the prostitutes, I was donating to, she actually passed out right in the middle of my donation. Of course, I didn't stop. I mean, I paid good money for that. Anyway, after I was done and she finally she started rambling. She said she went to hell and came back. And then she said, apparently I was so good that it was like heaven, but somehow her heaven was hell. Turns out she actually died of an overdose for about 5 minutes. I administered Narcan. Yeah, her drug of choice was painkillers and opioids.
Eddie, why the hell were you carrying Narcan on you? Did you expect your prostitutes were going to OD?
Yes, always be prepared. Well, here's when it gets weird, Ben. She said she saw my mother and father in hell, and they told her to give me a message. Now, I thought she was just completely crazy, you know, high as a kite, delusional. But then she told me things that only my parents knew, things nobody else could possibly know. She said they missed me, and that since I'm doing well for myself, I should set up an altar for them, like those ethnic religions do, and offer them offerings. I didn't want to believe it at all. It was insane. But a few weeks went by, and I saw my mom in a dream. She was skinny and looked like she hadn't had food in ages. She didn't talk to me. I asked her how she was, but she was just silent. The very next night, it was my dad. Same thing. Skinny, silent. This happened for a week straight. Karen thought I was overstressed. Well, I decided to do as the crazy prostitute suggested. I set up an altar for them both and gave them offerings. And you know what happened, Ben? They came back to my dreams. And they thanked me. And they looked so much better. They weren't skinny anymore. Is this crazy, Ben? Did my subconscious just play tricks on me, or was that real?
Eddie. So that's who that altar was for. I asked you about it when I dropped by to give you your tools back, and you said you didn't know that it was Karen's. What a liar, man. But hey, I guess all religions are connected somehow, right? After listening to Blind Emmitt's account, aren't you glad you aren't deaf or dumb for not feeding the spirits of your parents? I guess we're all humans. We all have a human spirit, so it's got to go somewhere after we die. Maybe those offerings actually do make a difference. Well, here's my story, and this one still gives me the chills. I was just minding my own business, doing a favor for my wife, actually. I was out shopping for feminine hygiene products for her because, she's too shy to get them herself. Classic. As I was walking out of the store, pushing my cart, I saw these kids. There were 3 of them just casually walking through the parking lot, looking intently into every single car. It was weird. They looked out of place. So, being the responsible citizen I am, I shouted, "Where are your parents?" And just like that, they bolted. They ran off into the distance. I just shook my head, got in my car, and drove home. Figured it was just some unsupervised kids. Later that evening, as it was getting dark, I heard a knock at my door. I didn't just open it. I used my Ring camera to see who it was. And wouldn't you know it, it was the same 3 kids from the parking lot. My heart sank a little. I asked them again through the doorbell cam, "Where are your parents?" They replied, and this is where it got really unsettling. They all spoke in a monotone voice, no emotion, just flat. They said, "We don't know, mister. Please invite us in. We want to use your cell phone to call them." I thought, okay, weird, but maybe they're just lost. So I said, "Just give me the number and I'll call them for you." And that's when it happened. As I looked closely at the camera footage, their eyes, all 3 of them had solid black eyes. No pupils, no iris, just pure black. Like a shark's eyes. The kind of eyes you hear about in urban legends. I always thought Negro-eyed kids was just a made-up spooky story. But right there on my Ring camera, they were staring back at me. At my house. I immediately called my wife at work. She's a 911 dispatcher, thank God. I told her what was happening, and she immediately dispatched a patrol car to my address. The kids must have sensed it, though, because they left on foot before the police even arrived. That was probably the scariest encounter of my entire life. Seeing those eyes, it changes you. It makes you believe. So, what do you think, Eddie? You've had your share of weird. Black-eyed kids on your doorstep? Real or just my imagination running wild after a long night of sports talk and buying feminine hygiene products?
Man, Ben, after these stories today, yeah, I think anything is possible. Seriously. I've got my donating sperm overdose spirit message, the drag queen Roxanne's demon-possessed church, and 1890s roommate, blind Emmitt going blind for snitching, and dumbass fatty flabby Justin Vance in Cincinnati's mishap with the body of a Negro Haitian voodoo priest. There is just so much out there that we don't know, so much happening just beyond our perception. My mind is officially blown. So the obvious question, Ben, did they ever come back?
Thank the Jewish God Elohim. No, Eddie, they haven't. And believe me, every night I go to sleep, I'm just hoping that stays true. Otherwise, I would absolutely be a goner. The theory has it that they may be either demons or some kind of alien entity masquerading as kids. Either way, not something you want knocking on your door at night. Well, there you have it, folks. It took us 6 episodes of the 6th hour to finally get some of our own personal chilling stories out there. What do you think, audiences? Do you believe Eddie's Skid Row spiritual delivery or my Negro-eyed kids encounter? The drag queen's demon witch possession story, blind Emmitt's vengeful ethnic spirit story, or like Eddie said, dumbass fatty flabby Justin Cincinnati's mishap with a Negro voodoo priest? If you have stories like these ones, and please make sure they're as wild as ours, please write and send them to us to 6thhour@gmail.com. We'd love to share them on a future episode. Speaking of future episodes, you're going to want to keep the faith and have an exorcist on standby. Thanks to the Catholic Church for sponsoring this episode. Until next time, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the morning star.